Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to today's webinar. I am, dare I say, super excited to be here. And I can't tell you how excited I am. One, I get to be here partnering with Grace Hill and Edge to Learn. But two, I get to co-host this with Kendall Pretzer. I mean, come on now. How much better could it be today? So you guys are I'm just so happy to be here. I'm glad you guys are here with us as well today.
Thank you, Gary. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. We are excited to be here. And Gary, thank you for being here. This is the webinar we are having today, which is titled Two Boss Moves to Lead to a Super 2023. And I'm Kendall Pretzer, and I'm the CEO at Grace Hill. And I want to personally thank you all for being here today. I know everybody's busy, but it is a new year, and that feels like it just brings us all so much opportunity for positive change and intentional growth. I know that my family does the whole pick a word for this year. And so this is just another opportunity for us to really take advantage of this time together. So to set personal goals or professional goals, and our guest speaker is going to guide us on how to start and how to get going. So, an important part of what we do here at Grace Hill is we provide solutions for property management professionals so that you can do your job in a better way. During the end of last year, we acquired Edge to Learn and Ellis, and this is a super exciting news for our company, our customers, and also the industry as a whole. Bringing together more resources, more information really helps push the knowledge of our industry forward in countless ways. So if today is the first time joining us as a customer of Edge to Learn and Ellis, we welcome you and are thrilled you're here. So before we get started, I want to invite everyone to use the chat box to engage in the conversation with Gary and with me. And Stephanie Anderson is here as well, and she's off camera, but she's back there. So any of us are happy to take some questions. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share it along with today's slide deck to all the attendees in a follow-up email. So at the end of the presentation today, Gary has been nice enough to allow some questions and answers for us. So get your questions ready, and you can put them in the chat if you want now, or use the Q&A function as well. And I will do my very best to monitor and to bring those up at the end. So again, Stephanie is in the chat monitoring that as well. So you're going to gain expert knowledge from our guest speaker today. He's going to share three main areas to focus on as a leader, how to create strategy to improve these three focus areas, and the most valuable tactics to increase your chances for success and those around you. His secret strategy is to sure change your career trajectory, improve your team's success, and increase customer satisfaction in 2023. I am super excited to introduce our speaker today, Gary Gregory. So Gary is a transformational leadership coach who brings impactful experiences, tools, and knowledge to equip the super inside you, so you can steward the fantastic around you. He is recognized as a two-time best-selling author and has been in multifamily leadership roles for over 20 years, so he knows what we do. Gary is also a former sponsored triathlete, Ironman, ultra-marathoner, and a personal trainer. So thank you all for being here today, and I'm going to turn it over to Gary to help us get started.
Oh my God, Kendall, thank you so much. I almost feel like that introduction I wrote myself. That was fantastic. So thank you for introducing me. That is one. And also I want to thank you so much for using the word super so many times. That's my language. So thank you for sharing that. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today here with Grace Hill and Ellis. We are excited to share two boss moves to lead into a super 2023. I really believe these are some great moves that you can make. They're two secret moves. I don't normally share these, but because Stephanie and Kendall asked so nicely, I decided to go ahead and share these with you. So these moves will lead you, and you will lead the moves into a super 2023. So how many of you want to learn? So go ahead and put in the chat that you're ready to learn these boss moves. I want to see you guys say, yes, I'm bossing on, or whatever you want to say, that you're ready to learn these two boss moves. Are you ready for them? I'm ready. I'm getting ready. Two boss moves. I'm going to You know what? Normally you kind of hide these things later into the presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and just release these 2 boss moves, these secrets right away for your benefit. So are you ready? Get ready. Here they are. Your 2 boss moves, know and show. That's it. How amazing is that? 2 boss moves I want to share with you today, know and show. So a lot of times we overcomplicate things. And so I'm going to simplify some things. So I have learned these boss moves over the years as a community manager, a district manager, a regional manager, and a director. I have learned these boss moves, sometimes through some trial and error, sometimes through some difficult situations and scenarios. But I want to share these 2 boss moves with you so that you can get ahead of the game, get to where you want to go quicker, faster, and easier because you've got those 2 boss moves. So let's go ahead and jump into there because I want to share with you what these mean. So why do you want to know to know? What does that mean? So for me, when you know, right? Y'all have heard that saying before, when you know, you know. Well, this is so true. And the benefits of knowing as a boss, using this boss move, includes followable excellence, right? How cool is that? You get to model compassion. You model the path, the journey people can take. You improve acceptance. That's huge. And the great thing also is you eliminate assumptions. You're eliminating misunderstandings. You eliminate guessing. And my least favorite thing, you're eliminating faking it, because when you know, you know. Now, the cool thing, the greatest benefit of knowing is you can reduce managing. That's right. I want you to reduce managing and increase your leadership. This is such a great tool that you can use. When you know, you can reduce your managing and improve and increase your leadership. So I'd love for you to put in the chat, would you like to experience these benefits? Would you guys like to experience followable excellence, eliminating assumptions, reducing management, and improving your leadership? Let us know. Put it in there. Yes, I am. I'm ready to be the boss. All right, guys. So what are the 3 things you need to know? I'm going to break it down real simple for you. I want you to know you. I want you to know your team. And I want you to know the goal. Those are the 3 things to know. And if you know these things, you're making a boss move. So what does it mean to know you? Or if you say me, I want to know me. Well, that is where internal leadership comes in. Sometimes we get this backwards, and sometimes before we start leading ourselves, we try to lead other people. But I want to back you up a little bit. I want you to start knowing you. Have self-awareness as a leader. Start developing yourself so that you can then start developing other people. So know you, before you start leading other people. The second thing, team. Awareness of your team and understanding of your team. What does that mean? If you don't know what's important to them, if you don't know your team, all the nuances of your team, then you're leading them blindly. Essentially, you're just hiding behind a checklist and you're not leading a team, you're managing. So I want you guys to spend some time, develop some awareness and understanding of who your team is. And at that point in time, you're getting into leadership. Otherwise, you're just managing. The third thing, goal. What does it mean to know the goal? So we're all working for something, right? We work for an apartment community. We work for a multifamily company of some nature. Everyone has a goal. You have a goal potentially, right? Know the goal. You got to work for something. If you don't know what that goal is, if you don't have awareness of the goal, if you don't have understanding of the goal, then you're destined to fail, right? So we got to know what we're headed to, what we're working on. So these are the 3 things of the boss move. The first boss move is know. And these are the 3 things to know. Know yourself, know your team, know the goal. All right, you guys feeling it? You feeling this love? You feeling the boss moves already kind of being absorbed? This is pretty exciting. All right, let's look at, well, what happens if I don't know, right? There's a lot of instances in which, we kind of walk into a scenario or we're somewhere and we just don't know. Well, I'm going to give you some strategies to know. These are some great things that have served me well over the years, and I want to share them with you first. So many of us are afraid to ask, right? Because we're going to be perceived as maybe dumb or ignorant or whatever the case may be. But I want to encourage you guys to ask. I promise you, some of the smartest people in the world ask the most questions. Now, if you want to rephrase your question a little bit to give it a little more gravitas, that just sounds like a cool word. So if you want to add some gravitas to your question, just rephrase it as, hey, I want to confirm I understand what you're saying. That's a great way to ask a question, right? It's a great way. Or you can say, can you clarify what you just said a little bit more? Ooh, man, that sounds like boss move to me. When you're asking that kind of question, it really does help you get the answer. And as a boss, you're asking the right questions. Second thing, if you don't know, start researching. There's so many different ways, so many different avenues to find information. Hill and Ellis is an amazing source of information. And you can also go to YouTube. There's so many other industry associations that you connect with that you can start researching. Go look it up. Get proficient at finding more information. Dig into it. If you're not familiar with something, go find out. Go research it. The more you research, the more you know. Now, the third thing, if you don't know, once you start asking questions and you start researching, guess what? Boss move, start suggesting. This is such a really cool approach to making a boss move. Once you're asking questions, once you're researching and gathering more information, you've got your receipts or backup research, if you will, you can start making well thought out suggestions. This is a cool boss move. Instead of saying, hey, suggest, hey, I was doing some research, I asked some questions, and I'm suggesting this. What a boss move. I promise you, you are going to go a long ways if you use the suggestion approach. Now, remember, you got to have your research, you got to ask your questions, you got to have your receipts and your backup before you do that. Now, the last thing I want you to do is prepare. Man, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. A boss is going to be ready before their supervisor shows up, or get this, they're going to anticipate the question before it gets asked. A lot of us know through asking questions, researching, making suggestions, we're going to know essentially what is going to happen next. These tools, this process is going to help you understand or anticipate what's going to happen next. And when you do that, you're prepared. You're getting ready. You can test it. You can rehearse it. You get ready. So make sure you're preparing. So I want you guys to put in the chat, what are some other things you do to know? What are some things that you do to really understand or have awareness of things, whether it's for you, whether it's for your team, or whether it's for the goal? So what do you do to know? What's your boss move to know? Go ahead and put that in the chat. We'd love to share with you guys. What's your strategy to know more, to know better? Love that. So these are my 4 strategies to know. Let's jump into some tactics. I want to share with you guys what you can work on to know. Here we go. So what are some things that I can do to know myself, right? First question I want to ask you is, what do you want? Right? Such a weird question to ask, because have you ever asked yourself that question? What do you want? I bet you 9 times out of 10, a lot of us have never asked ourselves that true self-reflecting question, what do you want? This is a real boss question. When you ask yourself that question and know what you want, you're working on knowing yourself. That is self-awareness. The second thing I'd love for you guys to do is go explore some self-assessments. These are amazing. There are so many different self-assessments out there. For example, you can find DISC, Strength Finders, Myers-Briggs, or even like love languages or appreciation languages. Those are great assessments that you can take. Now, of course, they're not going to give you all the information. It's not going to be a crystal ball into specifically exactly who you are. What it will do for you is give you a great foundation to start really creating some self-awareness. And these are some great methods for you to start knowing you. The third thing I want to share with you is core values and principles, right? Does your company have core values and maybe even a vision statement or a mission statement? Now, my question to you is, do you have a set of core values? I want to share something with you. This has always been very unique to me. If you don't have a set of core values and you lean on your company's core values, and everyone else in your company leans on the company's core values, then everyone becomes relatively redundant. And one of the things that Kendall shared earlier was, I believe everyone has a gift, skill, and talent. And to add value, to bring value, I want you to develop your core values and principles so that you can bring value to the company that you're working for. And simply knowing your core values and principles, knowing what you stand for, can do that for you. Another question I want you to ask yourself is, you ready? What offends you? I know this is some triggering words right now with all of the kind of conversations going out there in social media, social norms and everything, but I really want you to explore what offends you. And you can take this, for example, okay, if I know what my buttons are, if a customer comes in and starts yelling at me, and if they do or say a certain thing, that's going to set me off. That's going to get an emotional reaction. Or if one of my team members does something or doesn't do something, or says something or doesn't say something, that's going to create an emotional reaction. That's going to offend me. That's going to bring up my spirit of offense. So a boss move is knowing what pushes your button before it happens, so that you can catch it and control it before you react emotionally. So really self-reflect and understand what offends you. And then the last thing I want you to do, as you are knowing yourself, who are your alignments, right? Who are your alignments? So what are alignments, you're asking? I'm glad you asked that question. Alignments are the people that you give permission to call you out. You need to surround yourself with good people that you trust, that you know, and they know you, and you give them permission to call you out. You share with them what your goals are. You share with them what you want to be, and they're the people that support you. They encourage you to get to where you want to go. Who are your alignments? That's what you got to know. So these are some great tactics to know yourself. All right. How do we know our team, right? We need to know the team. Those are pretty important people that we work with all the time. So a great way to know your team is through one-on-ones. Are you connecting with your team periodically on a consistent basis and scheduling time with them to get to know them? Are you doing this process to know them? The one-on-one is probably one of the most incredible ways to sit down with your team member. And remember, it's people first, task second. When you're in your one-on-ones, get to know your team. The second thing you can do is assessments, right? You did an assessment to get to know yourself a little bit better. Maybe you took a DISC assessment or one of the strength finders or appreciation languages or the many other ones that are available out there. I'd encourage you to have your team members do the same. Now, if you take a DISC, I would encourage you to have your team take a DISC assessment at the same time. That way you have a common language to connect with and understand each other. Because if you know one person is an activator and the other person is maybe a thinker or a contemplator, then you understand, you get to know how they work, how they act, how they think, how they speak better. So the assessments are such a valuable tool to use to get a little better understanding of where your team members are coming from. And then the last thing I want to share with you for knowing your team is coaching. Oh my gosh, who has never had a coach before in some capacity, whether you played little league sports or whatever you may have done? You may have had a coach in your life, but the purpose of the coach is not to get out on the field and play. The purpose of the coach is to cheer you on, ask the questions, and encourage you while that person is doing the thing, while that person is being empowered to do what they need to do. So when you're coaching somebody, you're getting to know them in a different way because you're asking questions. So why do you think something like that? Or what would be the next step? And what else? There are so many great questions you can ask, and it empowers your team member to think more, to think better, and to do the things they need to do because you're on the sidelines cheering them on and coaching them. So those are the three things you can do to know your team. All right, let's know the goal, right? We all have goals in some capacity, but here's what I want you to do. Where are you headed? Do you know where you're headed? That goal is your finish line, right? Some of us may go this way, some of us may go the other way, but we're all headed to the same direction. So what does it mean to design it, clarify it, measure it, focus on it, own it? These are the ways that you really understand and wrap yourself around the goal. If you can design the goal, then that gives you some ground up opportunities to be a part of that goal and really know the why. Where is this goal coming from? What's the purpose of this goal? And then clarify it. If you can clarify it, if you know how to clarify it with your other team members and they understand it, then you know the goal. Now, of course, we got to know how to measure it. How are we going to measure it? And, being in the multifamily industry, we all understand metrics. We all understand KPIs or key performance indicators, but you can't improve something if you can't measure it. So understand how you would measure something and then focus on it. This needs to be something that you talk about all the time. So know what your plan is to focus on that goal. And then finally, own it. If there's a goal that is on your shoulders, you need to own that goal. If there's mistakes, it's on you. If there's successes, it's on the team. That's a boss move. When you take responsibility for a miss because you're owning that goal and you know how to own it and you're anticipating that, that's a boss move. And when there's a success, you're giving the kudos to your team. That right there is a boss move. All right, guys. So tell me in the chat, are there any team, or goal things that you need to work on knowing better? So put it in the chat. I want to hear from you. Are there any things that you need to know about you, yourself, your team, or your goal that you would like to know better? Now, the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because if you put something in writing, that's a physical activity, and that's encouraging you. That's giving you some encouragement and inspiration to go after it. So put in the chat right away, what do you want to know better about you, maybe your team, or your goal better? So put that in there in the chat. All right. So we talked about know, right? That's the boss move, knowing yourself, knowing your team, and knowing the goal. Now we got to show it, right? What good is knowing all these things if we don't do something about it? So let's show. We're going to show you, team, and goal. So we still got to work through these three things that we want to show. So show is the action. That's all it means. Show is the action. So for you, are you showing your improvements? Are you sharing the things that you're doing to better yourself? Are you talking about these things? And a great question you can always ask yourself is, are you a leader that you would follow? I want you to write that question down. Am I a leader that I would follow? That is I don't want you to share that with anybody right now. Don't put that in the chat. But I want you to write that question down. Am I a leader that I would follow? If you're not, go back to the know, work through it, and then start showing what you're doing to improve. The next thing to show is team. Man, start digging in with the team, supporting and encouraging the team. Start challenging the team. That's how you show a boss move with your team, because you're getting in there with them. Show the goal, right? We got to live the goal. If we're given a goal and we don't do anything with it, then it's dead in the water. So can you live it out? Does it become your focus of discussions? Are you putting the progress of getting the goal into action? Are you doing things to get there? I'm going to show you some great stuff in just a moment. So what are the benefits of show? Now, for me, the proof is in the process, right? We know all these things. We're developing the process, and then we got to implement it. We got to initiate the proof. So what are some of the benefits? Well, lead what you value. If you value yourself, your team, and your goal, that's what you're leading. There's better practice makes for better results. You can practice all you want, but if it's bad practice, what are you going to get? Bad results. And then you stretch your capacity. What does that mean? Stretching your capacity means, hey, you know what? I know this, but because I'm challenging myself and I'm doing a little bit more, I'm stretching what I can do. That is a huge, huge win. You also eliminate fear, eliminate procrastination, eliminate regret, and eliminate discouragement because you're doing the things that you know. And then finally, why show? Why is there proof in the process? Because actions speak louder than words. Oh my gosh, action speaks louder than words. I love that saying. My wife tells me that all the time. And it is true. Action speaks louder than words. Do the things. Well, how are some ways that you can show? Well, I want to encourage each and every one of you to raise your hand. If there is something that you want to do, if there's something that you're interested in, raise your hand. Nobody's going to raise your hand for you, right? I'll tell you a little story. I spent several years as a community manager assuming I would get promoted. But you know what? It didn't happen because I didn't raise my hand. I assumed my boss just knew I wanted to get promoted. So I encourage you, if there's something that you know, something, a goal that you want to obtain because you self-reflected and decided what you want, raise your hand, tell other people. That's a boss move. The next thing I want you to do is step up, right? I want you to add value before being asked. I want you to do more than asked. So if the minimal is this, bring it up a notch. That's a huge boss move. When you step up, you're raising your hand in a action way. They're going to look at you going, man, that team member right there, they're just stepping up and they're doing a lot more than we asked. I think there's some future for this person. The other thing I want you to do is step in. Find opportunities where you can join a committee, join an association, find opportunities to step into a role that maybe you just didn't think you could do before. Step into these new roles, associations, committees, by raising your hand. It's a great way to do that. And then finally, we talked about this a little bit earlier about one of the benefits, stretch your capacity. Stretch. Do more than what you think you can. A boss move is saying, hey, you know what? I'm here. This is what I can do. But man, I'm gonna stretch myself. I'm gonna try something new, something different, something out of my comfort zone, dare I say. Stretch yourself. That is a huge, huge boss move. So I want you to put in the chat real quick. How are you showing your boss moves? What are you doing? Are you raising your hand? Are you stepping up? Are you stepping in? Are you stretching yourself? Put in the chat, what are you doing to show your boss moves? You guys are all bosses because you're on this webinar. You are stepping up because you're going to hopefully learn some things and you're going to take it back and you're going to add value simply by attending this webinar and absorbing some of the things. Are you guys ready to be bosses? I know you are. I know you are. All right, guys, how else can you show proof in the process? I want you guys to start thinking about getting ready for the next level, right? So what does that mean? If you're not taking action to get to the next level, if you're not preparing yourself to get to the next level before you get there, guess what? You're not going to be ready when you possibly get that opportunity. So do all the things that you can do. Take Grace Hill classes, Ellis classes to learn more so that you can grow more, so that you could be ready when the opportunity is available. Get ready for the next level before the next level is ready. This is a huge one. Complain less. Oh my gosh. Could you ever imagine promoting somebody that is a complainer or the Debbie Downer? You know, I can never imagine somebody going, you know what? That person complains so well. We just need to promote them so they can maybe find more things to complain about, right? Take that out of your vocabulary. Stop complaining. What should you do instead of complain? Ask questions, research, and make suggestions. Boss move right there. Have a sense of urgency. If your supervisor says, hey, we need to take care of something, boom, take care of it. I tell you, Stephanie had asked me to do some things to kind of redo some of these slide decks. And you know what? I got it done as quick as I could. As soon as I got her email, I knew it was important to her, to this presentation, so I got it done as quick as I could. That's how I show my boss moves, because it's important to Stephanie, so it's important to me. And the last three things I want you guys to do is be a hype person. That's a boss move. I want you to start thinking about how you can make your company and boss look good. How can you make your team look good? How can you make your customers look good? These are win-win opportunities. If you can support your company, your boss, your team, and your customers in some capacity, guess what you develop? Trust. Man, when I'm in a meeting, if ever I'm talking to some of the other team members and somebody brought something up, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make that person look good. Hey, that was a great idea. Or, hey, did you know so-and-so brought up this idea? And give the credit to them. Make them look good. Or, hey, I wanted to thank this person for all the work they did on this project. And you know what? When you're making other people look good, when you're being generous with your praise, encouragement, and inspiration, guess what that makes you look like? Give you one shot. It makes you look like a boss, because that's a boss move. Guys, make your company, your boss, your team, your customers look good. I promise you that is going to be an incredible value that you add to you. I promise you. All right, how do you show your team? I want you guys to empower them. Give them tasks to do that have value, that have meaning. Give them opportunities to ask questions, to research and make suggestions. Challenge them. When they come back to you with their ideas and questions and suggestions, challenge them. Get them thinking more. Ask them more questions. You're always in that coach role and you're challenging them. So what makes you think this is the best idea? Or where did you come up with this idea? Or how did you formulate this? Challenge them. Don't just say yes. Don't just say, yeah, that's great, and move on. Challenge them. Get them thinking, because you never know. Maybe that one little like poke, that one little question is like, oh yeah, and you got something amazing just from one little question. And then if you are working with your team and empowering them, giving them opportunities to do something and challenging them to get themselves better, follow up. Make notes and follow up. Be consistent with that. If you show that you are following up with your team, it's showing that you care. And Kendall and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. When people complain or nag or whatever the story may be, it just means if you have a perspective of that's coming from a place of compassion and care, it means so much more. So follow up with your team and say, hey, I saw this and I just wanted to follow up with that. Follow up with your team. It's a huge boss move. And then once you start doing these things, you give your team opportunities, you're empowering them, challenging them, following up. You know what starts happening? You become a leadership factory. You start churning out new leaders, because these are the team members that are growing through your encouragement. Become a leadership factory. Huge boss move. Just saying that right here, right now. You can quote me on that. All right, guys, what about the goal? How do you show proof in the process of the goal? I want you guys to know the goal. If your supervisor comes in and says, hey, what's our occupancy percentage for this month? Boom. I anticipated that question because I already knew what they were going to ask. Know it. Embrace the goal. Guys, if your occupancy goal is X, embrace it. That's what we're going to hit. That's what we're going to strive for. And maybe, because we talked about adding value, maybe a little bit more. That's a boss move. I want you guys to rally around the goal. You're always talking about the goal, so we're rallying around it. So again, if your occupancy goal is X%, man, let's rally around it. You are showing proof that you care about that goal and you're supporting it and you're encouraging it. So rally around it. Whatever the team meetings look like, rally around the goal. Stay on it. Follow up. Ask about it. Ask for ideas, encourage your team to support that goal. What can they suggest about that goal, how you can stay on it, and then plan for it. Hey, you know what? Just because this month's goal is X, next month's goal is coming up. What do you got to plan for to get there? Keep planning for the goal and talk about these things. If you keep everything inside, a true boss communicates really, really well with their team and talks about these things, especially the goal. So make sure you guys are chatting and communicating about that. Speaking of chatting, I want you guys to put in the chat, what do you want to work on showing more boss moves? Do you want to work on showing more boss moves with yourself, maybe with your team, or maybe with a goal. So put in the chat, what do you want to work on more boss moves? Okay. So remember, you can work on you can work on your team, or you can work on the goal. What are those boss moves that you really want to start showing a little bit more? I'm loving this. Kendall, are you excited about this as much as I am? She's in the background. She's super excited, guys. So today we talked about the 2 boss moves, the secrets that I had that I learned from my years in the multifamily industry, from trial and errors, almost getting fired for so many different things. I've rallied all these things together, and I wanted to share it with you because I want to share with you what I learned so that you can get to where you want to go that much quicker. So I want to tell you, when you know, you can show, right? When you know, you can show. And then when you know you become followable excellence. Get you right first. This is an ongoing process. It'll never going to end, but I want you to get you right first. Become followable excellence. When your team sees you developing yourself, they're like, hey, that's kind of cool. That's a boss move right there. I want to follow that person. Work on that. The second thing is team. Make the team important. What's important to the team should be important to you as a leader. Build them up, transform them, become that leadership factory. I promise you, probably the coolest thing that I loved was watching my team members get promoted and moving up and moving on. That was like one of the most incredible boss moves that you can ever make. And then when your team member that became promoted starts promoting other people, dude, it's like a multi-level marketing MLM club. You just start producing more and more leaders, but you don't have to pay like dues or anything like that. So it's a lot better. The third thing is goals. Man, be focused on it. Have tenacity on whatever that goal is. Have a sense of urgency with it. Embrace it, adopt it, own it. All the things that you need to do, knowing that this goal is important, whether it's your own goal, whether it's your team's goal, or whether it's the company's goal. Be focused on it. Be tenacious with that goal. Just be all over it. And then last, I'm going to add a little bonus with you guys, for you guys. When you know you can show failure, this is probably one of the most incredible things, because as a leader, people are watching you, and how you overcome the inevitable failure is how you truly become a boss. When you know you go through a failure, you're authentic about it, you talk about it, you learn from it, you recover from it, and people see you do that, that's probably one of the biggest boss moves you'll ever make. Because when you're a human leader and people see you overcome an inevitable failure, that's followable excellence. Guys, I just want to tell you, I'm so excited you guys were here. I also want to share, you can connect with me on my website, and I want to share with you a 2 boss moves workbook. So if you want to take more information back, I'm going to give you some more challenges. Just send me a message from my website and I will send that boss moves workbook to you free of charge, just because I'm so excited about boss moves. And I've got some additional information that I want to share with you from Kindle. So hang tight. Are you ready for Kindles?
Thank you, Gary. I've been taking notes over here. So thank you. And we have some boss people in the chat, lots of good suggestions and lots of people wanting to improve. I think about this time of year and, all the things you want to do and reset and, lose weight, eat better, all those things that we all say, but then all these things about self-improvement and how can I be better myself, my team, my company, my goals, my family, all such a great time. And, I think this is, part of what we at Grace Hill and, and Ellis really focus on is the cycle of improvement for the person. And, by providing, training and policies and mystery shopping and assessments and procedures and surveys and insights, we want you to use that information to make you better and to make your customer experience better and your property better. So this is really what Grace Hill does. And we're really excited about, continuing that, because we want everybody to have boss moves and really think that. So anyway, that's thank you for sharing that. A couple things I wrote down, and I want to get to some questions. A couple things. Someone asked about vision boarding and goal setting. And if there were any links, I know I did it for the first time a couple of years ago and got my stack of magazines and and did it for, personal as well as my work and family and that sort of thing. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, absolutely. If you want to do a vision board, it's a physical representation of your vision or your goal, where you want to go, where do you want to be, what do you want? Absolutely. Just, whatever it may look like for you, if it's simply on a piece of paper, or maybe you're really good on the computer and you just want to do a graphic on PowerPoint or Canva, or if you want to grab the big poster board and cut out images from magazines, do it. The whole important piece of it is doing it, knowing who you are, going through that practice, going through that exercise, that experience is going to help you refine what you want, whatever it may be. As you go through that experience, that exercise, it's that physical representation of taking what you're thinking, what you're speaking, and it's acting it out, putting it on paper, if you will. So absolutely love vision boards. Writing down a goal is a huge way to really make it happen.
Right. And to put it somewhere where you'll see it or review it. That's what I'm looking at. So yeah, great. Thank you for the question. So the other thing that I wrote down about one of your goal setting was talking about sharing with your team, sharing, taking that goal and having it, but then also sharing it with your team and, helping them, understand and know what that goals are. When you set goals, or if you use your team to help you set goals, talk to us a little bit about some ways to share that goal. What are some ways that I can share it with my team?
Yeah, absolutely. So sharing goals, the ultimate purpose of sharing goals is for accountability, because unless you share it with somebody, then there's no accountability unless you are really good at self-accountability. So creating a goal and sharing it with your team, I would encourage you, if you can, I understand budgets are budgets, but there are certain plans that you can make or certain goals that you can create. I'd encourage you to have your team be involved in the process of creating that goal and designing it, if you will. So once you have them involved in it, now, of course, you still have structure. You still need to figure out what that goal looks like, what that ultimate goal, but they can help you with the plan to get to it. So one of the examples I shared was occupancy needs to be X%. Well, what does that look like? How are we going to get there? Don't let that conversation just be you. Empower your team. Challenge your team to be a part of that conversation and create the journey to get to X, whatever X percentage is. When you do that, then there's buy-in. And when you have buy-in, you've got ownership and adoption. When you've got ownership and adoption, there's nothing that can stop you guys, because everyone has an accountability piece because they've all contributed into it. So just kind of boil it all down. Get your team involved in goal setting. That's an amazing way to share the process.
Right. Melinda Lacey had asked a little bit tweak on that question, that how do I help team members create goals? And I think you've just answered it as, you set the goal for the company or the property or, what you're doing, and then get them involved in how do you contribute to this goal. And then to your point, and I can do that. And maybe I need to do some other things to better my team member skill. Do that. So
absolutely. And there's different formats of goals. So you've got a company goal, but you can also have a team member goal. So if one individual has a goal, whether it's read a book, or maybe it's to get their CAM or get their CAPS, or maybe to run a marathon, if us as a leader does not ask what's important to our team member, what's their goal, what do they want, if you will, then we can't help them get to their next level. So as a leader, a boss move is asking your team member, what do you want? What's your goal? Let it be whatever's important to them. It doesn't have to be work related. Like I said, it could be just to run a marathon. Then as a leader, you encourage them, you challenge them, and you follow up with them so that they can get to their goal through one-on-one coaching the whole way. It's a great way to encourage them to get where they want to go.
Right, exactly. And Santiago just asked a little bit that same question, was what's a good way to motivate my team? And you've answered that a bit, is get them involved, get them
Yeah.
engaged in what
Mhm.
the goal is of the company, and then how do they contribute to it, or what unique skills and talents can they bring?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And one of the cool things is if you do the assessment and you have your team do an assessment, and then those assessments really uncover what their strengths are or what their talents are. And you can use those. So if you've got a team leaders that's, say, for example, a thinker, a contemplator, you can say, okay, hey, team member, here's the thing that we need to do. Give them time and space to think about it so that they can come back and make that suggestion. A contemplator or a thinker needs things. So knowing your team is so beneficial because it allows you as a leader to better interact with them, to help them communicate with them better so that you can encourage them the right way to get to where they want to go.
Yeah, that's a great question. Great point. So Amanda Hester has asked, can you suggest some assessment sites and links? You mentioned DISC.
Yes.
Heard you mention that. That's one we have used here. What other
Oh,
ones
yeah.
do you think are good?
Oh, yeah. DISC assessment is fantastic. Strength Finders is probably one of my favorites because it has such a robust breakdown. Now, there is cost involved in getting a Strength Finders assessment, but it's probably a great investment. Not probably, it is a great investment into one, knowing yourself, and two, knowing your team. So I'd encourage you to, at minimum, maybe check in with your supervisor and say, hey, I found this. And this is part of asking question, raising your hand, saying, hey, we'd like to take these Strength Finders assessments. This is how much they cost. This is the benefit of it. This is what we'll do with it. Do you approve this purchase? And that's knowing and showing your skill sets by saying, hey, I want to do this. This is my goal. This is what I found. And this is what we'd like to do. Appreciation language is another wonderful assessment that you can explore. And there's some other ones that if you just Google, get good at researching, just Google assessment test, you'll find some free ones there on the internet. Some of them may not be great, so you want to be mindful of the ones that you choose. But again, DISC, Strength Finders, appreciation languages, those are some really good quality ones that you can really do some valuable know and show from.
Right.
Boss moves.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I know people are suggesting some other ones in the chat.
It's awesome
to read that. Yeah. So let's talk for just a second about maybe a little sticky situation. What if you have a boss or a supervisor that doesn't want to coach you or doesn't appear to have the time to coach me? What are some thoughts around that?
Oh, absolutely. And that happens a lot. I mean, we're all busy in the multifamily industry or wherever we may be. And I understand now it's not the greatest scenario in the world. However, what you can do is find a coach, find a mentor, find an alignment, maybe a peer that you can bounce ideas off. Don't let one no stop you from getting what you want to get. So if your immediate supervisor says, hey, listen, I just don't have the time to coach you because of XYZ reason, okay, that's fine. Find somebody that can. Find a peer, find a mentor, find a coach, reach out to somebody. I tell you, LinkedIn, if you're ever on LinkedIn, there's thousands of people on there in the multifamily industry that would be more than happy to connect with you. You can ask them a question. They'll be more than happy to share their feedback with you. So don't let one no stop you from moving forward and finding that coach, finding that mentor that can help you along the way. And remember, I mentioned alignments. Alignments, these are the people that you trust and that you give permission to call you out and give you feedback. An alignment's another good person that you can reach out to help coach you along the way. And just, hey, I just want to throw this idea out at you. What do you think? Boom, boom, boom. They give you their feedback. It's honest, positive feedback, may redirect you, may ask you some more questions, but don't let one no stop you from finding that right person to help you out.
Right. Yeah, great advice. That's, I think, one another where the local associations, the local apartment associations, that sort of thing. If you get involved there, you can meet some people, you can volunteer in a very safe setting, and then meet some people that, you can sort of begin to network with.
Oh, yeah.
help, coach. And I think that's one of the things we all love about the apartment business is it's so relationship oriented, and there's such a desire to help each other out. So
absolutely. 100% agree with you, Kendall.
yeah. Okay. A couple more questions. And then it's in the chat. Do you have any suggestions about team building programs?
Oh, team building programs. So again, I want you to find out what's important to your team. Now, you can research, you can Google just generic team building activities, and there's some value in that. However, what I would encourage you to do is know your team better, know your team more, so that you can identify what's the best team building activities. Now, some of the things that are great, of course, is volunteering together. That is a great team building exercise. You can also go all the way to whatever the goal is. You celebrate those small wins along the way. Once you get to the goal, then you celebrate the big win. And everything in between, whatever team building activities, find out what's important to your team, because a lot of us will have our own perspective or idea of what's a good team builder. But if you don't involve your team in the conversation, and if you don't know them, then you may pick out the wrong team building activity that may have the opposite effect. So take the time to know your team, ask them what's important to them. And then from there, you have a better idea, better clarity as to what would be the right team building activity to engage your team with.
Right. Yeah. Great advice. Yeah. You don't want to do something that stresses your team out instead.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, Gary, for this. This is so timely for the first of the year. And it's such a great time for us to be together and for you give us some great nuggets and some things for us to think about so that we can set some goals for ourselves and our team and the whole goal process for our community and our companies. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate your questions. And if we've missed any, I'm sure Gary would take them on his website. And or if you have them for Grace Hill, you can certainly send them to us too. kpretzer@gracehill.com. Stephanie Anderson is sanderson@gracehill.com. And again, thank you to our Ellis customers. Thank you to our Grace Hill customers. Thank you, Gary. This has been super insightful. And you guys keep killing it out there. We're super impressed with your chats. You're doing boss moves already. So you guys go. So have a great day. Thank you again.